Well, I'm supposed to be editing my Dark Souls review, but I'm diverting my attention to talk about marathon drama. I really gotta get my priorities in check, but I do want to weigh in on this topic because it seems marathon fans are still confused. But first, as I just mentioned, I just wrapped up streaming Dark Souls 1 and I absolutely loved it. Come watch me play the rest of the Souls games on Twitch at itssizzle7 and subscribe to my second channel where I talk about games that I play and other general gaming news. Anyways, on to this. There was a bunch of quote tweets about Marathon, this guy saying, "I've never seen Steam trend lines so dire for a game I keep wanting to take lunch breaks to go play." Another person quote tweeted it saying, "It is really crazy how fun this game is, and for some reason the player base is so low." You have Grenadier Jake jumping in saying, "Dude, right? This game is actually so fucking good." But there are a few disconnects going on that we need to address. Yes, we see Steam chart numbers thrown around all the time with Marathon and people saying whatever they want to fit their narrative. I myself have used these charts to speak on the game's potential future, or lack thereof. I also chimed in with my own tweet saying, there are so many amazing video games out there with low player counts. Hollow Knight took years to gain in popularity. Does that mean it is bad because it had low player populations for most of its life? No, the game is and always has been incredible. Marathon's metrics have little to do with the game's quality. People then went on to call me a shill or a retard for comparing a single-player game to a live service, but they missed the forest for the trees. I was simply saying that the player count of Hollow Knight has no bearing on the quality of the game. There are a variety of factors as to why Hollow Knight had low player counts, but again, the game itself is an absolute masterpiece, as I wrote about in my review. I adore that game, but Marathon fans can't seem to come to terms with the fact that just because they like something, they can't imagine why other people aren't playing it. They seem blind to the fact that the game has a lot going against it. I'm not shocked in the least that hardcore PvP sweats from the Destiny 2 community love the game. Grenadier Jake has more Trials wins than any player in the world. Sir D was a cracked PvP player for like 10 years between the Destiny franchises. Say Wallabra and Defizzle, amazing PvP players. Kamicakes, Drewski, I could go on. They all love Bungie gunplay and sweating it out in high stakes PvP. So Marathon was basically made for them. Just because it fits right into their niche and is the exact type of game they love to grind, they just can't seem to fathom how other people aren't all over it. I have to clarify, I'm not talking about those creators that I just mentioned. I just mean the general Marathon defense force on Twitter and Reddit who call everyone an idiot if they point out anything wrong with Marathon or why the game isn't for them. I have nothing but love for all those creators that I referenced. I'm just saying that they're pretty much the exact demographic for a game like Marathon. And I could sit here and tell you all about how amazing Hollow Knight is, but the truth is, that game has a decent amount of difficulty. When I was streaming the game, every night I would tell my fiance how much I was loving that game. Does that mean that she's an idiot with bad taste for not playing it? No, it just means that challenging Metroidvanias aren't really her or many other people's cup of tea. She is content playing Hogwarts Legacy, and that is totally fine. To each their own. Would I love for her to get to experience Hollow Knight? Yes, absolutely. And I've played some of my favorite soundtracks from that game for her, or showed her some of my favorite characters like Mila, and we still say Nemmi Nemmi from time to time. I adore that video game, and its metrics have no bearing on how good that game is. But I can also understand why some people might not want to play it. And thankfully, it actually made it big and sold tons of copies thanks to positive word of mouth. But the fact is, most of my casual gamer friends will never even give it a try. Most have never even heard of it. Marathon is in a similar boat. Yes, tons of streamers are loving it, but again, this is a game almost perfectly designed for streamers. I was mostly a solo Destiny 2 player, but luckily I did have a group of awesome friends who I love that I would run raids and stuff with. But for a long time, I didn't have that, and I'd have to put up with LFG. This is undoubtedly a worse experience to do raids in, and raids are the best content in the game, but so many people don't even get to experience them, and then even some who do have to put up with some bad LFGs and struggle through it. I've joined great LFG parties too, don't get me wrong, but it's a dice roll. So with Marathon, streamers usually have two other friends that are sweats so they can dunk on lobbies because they are highly skilled in a coordinated team that plays the game a ton. But they are also outliers. There's other people on the ends of those gun battles. The vast majority of players are usually after-work dads just trying to hop in for a few games to enjoy. I see it in my comment section all the time. There are lots of people who actually like competitive shooters, but they don't feel like their time is respected in Marathon because they're often solo queuing, and more often than not, their teammates aren't great and they all lose their hard-fought loot. The game has vendor quests that are reportedly quite grindy, something that is awesome for teams of streamers to work towards, but very hard for solo players to accomplish, as their goals may not always align with their match-made teammates. Streamers need to remember that they're in a bubble. Their experience is about as optimal as it gets, getting to do cryo archive and get the best loot day one. The average player will probably never even see the compiler. This is why Arc Raiders was so successful. It's much more casual friendly. Again, I'm not surprised so many sweats love the game. Hell, Sir D and Camicakes both said they enjoyed Concord before it went away. These guys just love competitive shooters. I enjoyed my time with Highguard, I really did. Sure, I was in the minority, but I don't care. I had fun playing the game. And many people are also having fun playing Marathon, but a lot of them can't seem to fathom why others aren't. I could take you to the best seafood restaurant in the world, but if you hate seafood, it doesn't matter how good the food is. Does that mean that the restaurant is shit? Absolutely not. Everyone who loves seafood says it's the best they've ever had, but if you just hate seafood, then you're going to dislike that restaurant. It doesn't mean either of you are wrong. Am I going to call my friend who hates seafood a tasteless retard? Well, maybe, but only jokingly. My aunt is a chef, but she does not like sushi, and it pains me because I love sushi and I really wanted her to try this awesome sushi place, so I took her there, but she still didn't like it. If it is not your taste, there's nothing you can do about it. And the fact of the matter is that Marathon is a very acquired taste. I played it in the Server Slam and I was unimpressed, but in my review I even admitted I'm not the target audience. I also didn't experience their endgame maps like Outpost or Cryo Archive, and I have little doubt that those are probably very fun and a good experience. But I much prefer single player games with challenging combat like Silksong or Dark Souls. It's just my preference, and people have all kinds of preferences. I hear day in and day out of how great a shooter the finals is, and you know what? I bet it is. But do I want to play that over Dark Souls or Mugenics or Cyberpunk or The Witcher or GTA 6? No, I do not. People don't just have endless free time to play every game under the sun. The industry has never been more competitive, all while people seemingly have less free time and money than ever before, so they have to pick and choose wisely. So grinding a game where you are always seconds away from having most of your progress reset isn't the most appealing thing to most people. Conversely, some people get off on that tension, knowing that at any second they could lose it all, or take down an enemy team and come away with some amazing loot. It's what makes the game gripping and gives it its sauce. Or they just love the grind. Some people just love having something to grind for, and all the power to them, but you can't blame people that aren't as into that. And all this says nothing of the fact that the game has a very, shall we say, polarizing art style. Some love it, some hate it, but either way, we can all admit, it certainly isn't for everyone. And the game is also made by Bungie, a company that many people, myself included, just don't want to support. The last game Bungie made was Destiny 2, and at launch, it had over 3.7 million players at its peak. This was the game's all-time high. Now, I think we can all agree D2 Vanilla left a lot to be desired, which is why many people quit. The following fall, they released Forsaken, and it peaked at just over 3 million. So the game lost about 700,000 players from its peak, but not a single person would argue that Vanilla was better than Forsaken. Forsaken improved the game tenfold, but was that enough to bring 700,000 people back, or draw in more people? No. Despite the game objectively being better, I'm sure Marathon will have updates to improve the content offering of the game, and if it is still alive in 2027, the game will likely be objectively better with more to do than it is on launch. But do not be surprised if the player counts do not reflect that, and they don't reach its all-time high from launch. That is just the nature of most video games. Sure, some do grow over time, but most do not. Does that mean the game got worse or is bad? No. Stop conflating player counts with game quality. They are not synonymous. However, Steam charts can still absolutely be valuable data points to look at. The harsh reality is that live service games need players to continue to operate. So the decline in players is absolutely a reason to be concerned about the game's future. Shills like to say it doesn't mean anything, but it absolutely does. I'm not hand-waving the metrics. I'm just saying that they require context, and they certainly don't always mean a game is good or bad. Sometimes it does mean a game is shit. Other times it can mean a game is great and people are clearly liking it. But as I always say, context is crucial. Anyways, that's it. I have to get back to editing my Dark Souls review now, but sound off about Marathon down below. Like and subscribe and all that, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.